Well, we did have a forum.
He laughed.
A minute.
Who's here?
Oh, Mark.
I was like, what happened?
Oh, hey, Craig and Amanda, while you two were here, you guys both wanted to renew. So,
Oh, yeah, that was a while ago.
yep, but, so you're all, I just need you guys to sign the oath. Oh, and that's for Mark?
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I only have bright colorful pens. I better read and sign that later. What do you got? Okay. I got like a burgundy and a teal. Someone that's pulled out. I think I'm apartment stuff.
You can draw it up for me. You guys are ready to go?
We're good?
Yep.
Uh. 6:04.
604.
6:04. We'll get started. Public Tom, do you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I guess.
Go ahead.
Mike and I, he mentioned that the back of our building looked like hell, basically. It was deteriorating to a point that we felt we needed to do something, and through the winter, the wall was leaning towards the parking lot. So in an effort to try and be proactive, we thought, well, we ought to kind of clean up the back of that building if we can. So we dismantled everything that we could, and we left the electrical work there. And if you looked in back, you could see there's some brickwork that needs to be done. Mike is wanting to improve the backside of his building over to ours. So one of the things we decided to do, because that building really looked horrible. It has for years, and finally come to a point where we thought maybe we should clean it up. So unfortunately for us, we're still spending our money inside the building. We've done the floor. We've got an electrician coming to finish that up in the next 2 weeks, and we've got a plumber, and so, but if we can't do anything this year with the back of that building, it's going to be another year or so before we're able to address it. And Mike was thinking maybe the two of us together should, have some kind of joint approach to him cleaning up his building and kind of us working on ours at the same time. So. And I've given you quotes from, I've asked local people for quotes because we're trying to keep the work local. I went out and found another mason basically because I talked to Jimmy Conklin. He said he had his guys come over and look at it, but I've been after him for 2 or 3 weeks and I still have not received anything from him. So anyway, I thought, and finally the consumer needs to move those electrical sockets to a different wall. We have everything ready to do that. And we're waiting for our electrician that we've hired and for DP&L to get their heads together so they can make that move. And and it has to be coordinated with the bar. And we were hoping that could be done in September. And so that's kind of just a little nutshell of where we're at. But, something would have had to been done with that rear building eventually. I mean, it's to that point, when we saw the wall leaning out. We thought, well, now's a better time than waiting for something to happen where none of us, where the bar or us, the clothesline doesn't have any power, so. And answer any questions you have.
So is that part of the clothesline or is it part of the next building?
It's part of the clothesline.
Okay. And
The
the
connect-
other part of the other piece of the building, what is that going to be?
Well, it's a community center, a tutoring center, a civic center. It's for, we're working with the high school to use it for, evidently the high school can get a grant for kids to complete their GED. This sounds strange to me, but they said, well, they can't do it on site. And so, my wife's an ex-teacher. She's got a bunch of teachers organized to do tutoring, and so we've offered that building, with the high school in conjunction, that people could use it for their GED. We have a number of teachers that have been retired that are willing to get the tutoring program up and going a couple days a week. Then the building's open for, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, whatever. Senior citizens want to meet there, that's a possibility too. So you're still kind of evolving, but to have a building like that in the community that would be open to the public for use, it will be available. We just need to work on the administrative side of it, who's gonna run that for us, and the building hours, those kinds of things.
When is it opening?
As soon as we can get the work done, we set a date of, it was August 1st, then it was September 1st, because we couldn't get skilled trades folks like electricians and that to come in and do the work. They're all busy. Now we're looking at October 1st, and we're always moving it out 30 days. I would hope maybe November 1st would be a good day if we can get the people in there to help us finish. So I think once the internal electrical work is done, which the guy told me in 2 weeks he'd have it completed. We've got a guy doing the trim work. I don't know when he's gonna start, but he's hopefully September he would have that done. He's the same guy that did the drywall. I don't know if you looked in the window, but the floor is done and everything's, So that's kind of our target date is, I'm thinking more realistic, November 1st than October 1st.
Is that building legal now? Because I know it was red tag years ago.
Well, that's because the wall was leaning. Yeah, we have the permits, the approval permits, so the rough plumbing, we had the electrical. So the electrical, there'll be a final inspection on that, but that stuff went through the state. We were working with the county, Paul, maybe you know better than I do. For some reason, they said for mechanical and electrical, we had to go through the state. So we've done that. We put the tags, and then the fellow called me and said, well, we're back approving that now. And so I said, well, okay, but it's already done. When we're ready for the final electrical and building, we'll get a hold of you. It's kind of where we're at. We left the approval stickers on the windows so people could see it.
Okay, usually people apply for these in fall or in the winter,
Yeah,
and then we usually approve them by March 31st, the last weekend, our last meeting in March, we approve them or not approve them that way. So this one's
I know it's unorthodox. but
Right,
we
it's not-
Thought we'd give it a shot, see
The other thing that you guys need to know is that building, and whoever owns it, is a nonprofit. Okay, so that building doesn't pay any taxes. It doesn't put anything into the kettle that we're gonna be taking it out of if you were to approve him for any money. And also, it was part of the other grant, correct, which was Mike's and your building together. So the tax dollar has already been spent on that also. I believe you come to the DDA for one other. Did you ever get it approved? No? Okay,
Well,
so just the one grant that they did and then this one that he's looking for now.
well, if I could comment too, before we got our nonprofit status, we did pay taxes for a number of years.
Okay.
Also, my wife and I have put out the seed money. We probably spent $125,000 of our own money for the community just to help provide and improve the community. And I guess I mean that's, and I'm not trying to leverage that or anything, but I want you to understand, it's not like we're getting a lot of value personally. We don't intend to make any money off of it. We're just trying to finish it up because we've had a lot of inquiries from the schools, from people in the community. They support, they said we don't have those kinds of facilities. We're working with a coach out of Owasso that works for, what's the guy? I can't think of the guy's name, Tom. Anyway, we network, throughout the county to provide resources for people, through the clothesline and those kinds of things. Nobody's paid, everybody's a volunteer. Every bit of money we get, we put back into the building and into the projects, trying to get things back up to speed. So I can appreciate what you're saying, and I mean.
Well, I'm just trying to inform them.
No,
so that they know.
there's no pressure. We're just trying to improve our schedule of getting things done and maybe making it look a little better in the back. Some of that thought came from Mike Putnam, who said, hey, that building ought to be contaminated. We laughed and we said, yeah, Mike, we agree with it. So we came up with a little plan in to kind of get the building there. And then, so if you don't, I understand, there's no hard feelings here, just looking for some resources.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yep, so I came in late and I apologize. I walked in while you were talking. Can you describe for me again which businesses the back this work would encompass? Is it just the clothesline, or is it the community center also and plus villagers, or is it, which pieces are the grant for?
The grant would be for, quote, the organization is the clothesline.
Right, okay. And next to it would be the meeting room, the public meeting room.
Yeah, if
Is
you
that-
look
So
at,
it would include that space as well?
right,
Okay, and the clothesline is a non-for-profit?
the clothesline is the parent company, if you would. And the two entities under that are the clothing side and the connection, which is, community,
Got it.
a community focused resource to do.
And
Food rate.
neither
See.
one of them is tax
That started a
generated.
couple, I want to say 3 years ago.
Mhm.
Our accountant had encouraged us to pursue that
Okay,
status, so we did.
So the other building that you're finishing now will also be a non-profit.
It is
building.
a non.
It is now, okay. They're connected as a non.
Right, and they're under the leadership of the board. So we have a 7-member board. Made up of people from Langsberg. And in the community that govern the direction and activity and all, the policies and procedures for those buildings.
So this, what your total ask then is the 9,879, is that correct? I think it says 5.
No, that's what,
Here it shows,
Yeah,
maybe I'm
that's-
looking at the wrong thing, the application form says total budget 9,000.
That would be his
But
budget.
that's his budget. and
But
then-
that's your budget. Oh, got it, the ask is 5,000, does that, sorry, I should have seen that, so does that include Twilligers or not? Okay,
so his wall is next to ours.
okay, is there any
It does.
logistics or contractor negotiations that happen where they said, well, if you do both of them together, it's gonna be a different fee than if you only do Twilligers or if you only do the clothesline? Is there any sort of, like, do their budgets reflect doing both, or? You know, what I'm asking, like,
His work is, his building, if you look at the end of the back, and go all the way over, so he has quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah, he does. So he's getting totally different prices for his own work. That, so when you say you're working with Twilligers, sorry, I don't mean to draw you with questions, I'm just trying to
He
understand.
wanted,
You
to-
say you're working in conjunction with Twilligers,
Right.
what do you mean, working
he
in
wanted,
conjunction?
he wanted, in September to improve, September, October, to improve the facade of the rear of both of our buildings. He would pursue his, he said, how about you guys pursuing yours? And then we've had discussion about how we can do things jointly or not.
So you're not technically working in conjunction with Twilligers on this.
Well, we are.
person.
No, sorry. But I got a little medical condition. It's just letting me know I didn't like what I did.
That's me.
Yeah.
Sorry, I did that to you. I think what I'm trying to understand is whether Twilligers is part of part of your ask or part of your scope or part of your work, part of your understanding with the contractors in any way, or
Not
Twilligers right now is really separate.
our plan with Mike was to disassemble the back of the building to a point where we had to stop, so
Mhm.
we worked that out together. There was timing and he let us use some of his resources to get rid of the materials. So that in that part, and then some of the electrical on that. So there are 3 sockets back there. There's one for Twilligers, there's one for the connection and one for the clothesline. Those have to be moved in conjunction with Twilligers and a plan and, with the electrician. So we have a master electrician that we've contacted that's working with both of us to satisfy, the concern we both have with a potential failure there at the rear of the building. So in that sense, we've been working together.
Okay, thanks, that helps. me.
And just the other, as we're sitting in there having a cup of coffee, chatting, let me say, we ought to just work and see if we can't get this whole back done. When I'm doing mine, you're doing yours and all of that business. So those are the conversations we've had, and the electrical work is a combination plan, because in order to disconnect, the electrician has to work with Mike. Because he's got to shut the business down depending on how they do that. So they're kind of working that out.
So what was the prior grant that was provided by Paula in that grant you used, do you recall?
The facade grant,
Was it a facade grant?
that's why it's such a beautiful brick building now instead of
Okay.
covered with
Just making
paneling.
sure I'm understanding
Yeah,
how the prior grant, and
Yeah.
how much, do you remember how much?
it was a $400 and some odd $1,000 grant, but it's Willikers and their buildings.
It cost us,
We provided a grant of 400.
No, it was from State of Michigan,
Okay.
With CDBG.
Brownstone, was it?
CDBG.
Okay, so
We paid 45 grand.
I'm sorry, I thought it was, I thought it was a similar.
No,
grant to
I
what
don't
we're
think
talking
they ever
about,
got a
facade.
facade
No.
like a city.
I didn't know if you did or not. I wasn't sure. I thought you had applied and gotten one a long time ago.
So we-
So they haven't had a face forward facade grant from us.
Not to my
per se.
knowledge.
Okay,
He said. Not,
I would have to check. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think so, but
With the
Okay, sorry.
state grant, they paid 75, we paid 25. That was the requirement. And the buildings, in order to get it, and the city came and talked to us because you had to have a blighted building. And they wanted them in conjunction, so, you know, the Twilligers building.
it was not blighted.
The facade, yeah, and our facade really were horrible looking. And so that was one of the conditions that the state was willing to work with the city if they could find people that would say, yeah, we'd like to improve our building, and so working with Paul and the city. We said yes, and so that's the grant, but it's not like it was free money, but it cost us 25% of the total cost of the grant to get our building fixed up.
yeah, personally, I don't think that being a recipient of a separate grant, being a separate program would free up or prevent in some way someone from being.
No, I think Mark was just trying to get background.
Oh, okay.
yeah, I'm just trying to let everybody know.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it doesn't weigh one way or another,
but
other
do we
than,
have anything in our guidelines about whether it needs to be a revenue generating for-profit type business?
I would have to read it.
that we'd have to look up. Because I think that could be a little bit of a hair,
Right,
just for the reason of. You know, it's not producing any taxes or paying any taxes, and then it's receiving tax money from the same people in the area that are paying the tax. Not that they would disapprove or approve, that's up to us to decide, and then take the heat or not take the heat. Or my suggestion is, just my opinion, would be to. He has to go and do the work anyway, no matter what we're doing, or just like Richard got the grant and had to do, and same with it. You have to do the work first, you have to pay for it, and then you have to bring a receipt in showing what you paid and that it was paid.
Mhm.
So one way or another, he's gonna have to have the job done. And this is kind of out of alignment to what we usually do. He could still go and have the work done, and we could bring it back in the first of the year and either approve or disapprove of it then, which is totally up to you guys to decide anyway. But that was one of the things, he's gonna have to pay for it no matter what, and then we reimburse, so.
think in the face forward, the work can't be started though. That's true.
Until we have.
Until we have agreed,
Right,
I don't think.
I mean, they can't apply after they do a project
Right.
without getting approval first.
But he's here first already,
Right, we haven't approved it.
correct?
Can
But
you
what
get-
I'm saying is, we've done this before, where we said, go get the job done, come back, and we'll
Mhm.
help
And
you
we'll
out.
evaluate it at the
Correct.
time that we're evaluating.
So he's applying
Okay.
way previous to doing the work.
Well,
So I-
this is proposal, who's time already spent last winter, spring setting, laying out.
Which I don't think he had paid anything, he had just done all of the legwork. Is that right, Tom?
Yeah, I couldn't really understand what he was saying. What was the question?
About you had done work previous to getting to this point. Meaning had worked with consumers and so on to get it.
Well, then what, that's it.
In other words, you have,
Oh, okay.
Electrician.
in other words, he has already announced the work.
So you're saying the electrician has said that he's already done something?
Yeah, it sounds like his quote is gonna include that time. That he already planned.
Oh, okay.
That's the way I read it.
Well, we could apply the funds not to the electrical, but just to the brickwork, just to the masonry.
Well, there are two parts to the electrician, okay? In order to get our socket, I talked to consumers. And they said, well, you gotta come in and do, they gave us this big list of stuff to do for gauging the power and output and all of that business. In order to get that done, we hired this electrician, so there's no real construction work that has been done. It's just his consulting work and being our go-to with consumers so that we can then progress in the construction and movement phase, and that's where we're at. So it's like, kind of like here, hey, we've gone to consumers with the electrician, we've applied. He's done all the administrative work so that we can get approval to actually now start and move the sockets. And there's a fee for that too. So we paid him the administrative fee and now the construction fee and the actual work fee is $1,800.
When did the electricians say they can actually start the work for you? You probably already said it once, I apologize.
When consumers can,
Okay,
Which they might get ticked behind.
so nobody's started any actual on-site.
no, other than we dismantled, my brother and I dismantled the building so that we could get to the onsite.
We have requested that people go back to get their second quote. We've got one quote for each of these things. I guess I would
That's
suggest,
what he just,
oh, that what you said.
Oh.
I would suggest that we've talked to him and that it would come up for consideration when we consider the other applications, but it needs to come with two quotes. And at that point, we would be making an exception that we understand the work is already done, but we've already talked to you. And we've asked to get the two other quotes and bring it in by the deadline for our phase 4. That's
you know, for that
that's where
motion.
I'm at.
But you're not saying you're approving it.
I'm not saying I'm approving it, I'm just saying that it needs more information and to come in with our other phase 4. I feel like we had a leaner phase forward this year than last year in our budget. And it's an application coming in ahead of the schedule.
And that will also give us some time to look into our bookwork to see if it is legal for us to give to a nonprofit.
Agreed.
My
We need to do that.
theory is that it would be, but I'm not speaking that it is. So,
The only trouble we're having are getting quotes.
and yeah, I was just gonna say, good luck, you're still gonna have trouble getting that, but you got,
But you've got several months to get it.
yeah.
Well, we got a mason across the road from us. I've been into his office twice. I've had Mike talk to him. He talked to his dad. We can't get a quote, and he says he's gonna quote. Here's our dilemma. We're trying to
I can
let.
answer on that because that's actually my husband. I own that company, but I've had a piece of paper on my desk for 2 months that has been trying to be emailed to you. I brought it to our last meeting actually, because I thought you might be here. And so he's asked about emailing it to you, but you wanted a hard copy, so it's just sitting there waiting for you to pick it up.
When he had my phone number, I've never heard a word from him.
Pretty sure he's texted you about that. Did you not want an email copy? Because it's super easy to email them to you.
No, I can't. I'm a senior. I can't copy it off of the technology I have.
Because I can
That's what-
send it to
That's
Paula.
why I wanted a hard
You're
copy
fine.
for it.
So
I
I
did.
did,
You can just walk over and pick it up.
I think it might be dated June. I brought it to that last.
Well, it
meeting.
sounds like you have another,
But
another
it's in the
bid, so-
realm. It's,
But it-
I don't
but-
remember the exact
What-
amount, but it's
What's
close
the
to this.
figure? I haven't even seen it. He hasn't called me. I gave him
So-
my phone number.
I mean, you have to remember too, like, we don't do a lot of smaller work anymore, so it really is a scheduling issue for us, whether when you want the work completed, it's even possible, but I mean, I know that he did get a number around.
The other thing is that's separate though. He's not gonna do electrical work whatsoever.
No.
He's only doing brick work.
So you'd still need an.
So you still need, so you need 2 brickwork and 2 electrical. Because those are, if they're gonna be 2 separate, but if you're joining them together. Then you're gonna need 2 of each. You see what I'm saying?
I do, it's just,
I know, I understand, but
get these people.
it's
to
the
come
rules that we set up for the reason that we don't have the one bid in, I mean, it's just the rules we set up.
Yeah, I knew that when I came here.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna make a motion that we ask for 2 electrical, 2 brick. And to return it in time for our face forward planning. In what is it, March?
As long as he has it in
By the deadline for face forward,
by the day.
and that we would consider,
You're gonna waive.
we're gonna waive the pre-work. That you can't have a pre-work requirement.
Contingent upon it being allowed for a not-for-profit.
Well, she's not approving it, right? She's
No, not
Contingent
approving, I'm
upon
just
the fact
saying,
that he's
we
eligible.
can- yeah,
he would still be eligible.
that it's an actual completed application.
Yeah.
In time for the face forward.
We might as well. We've already
Well,
discussed
And
it.
that's, so there's no guarantee that you would be approved either.
Correct.
We still have to do our research.
the electrical work's gonna have to be done. ASAP, so as far as the brickwork, we will. I'll try and get different quotes and come back, maybe we'll just make another application.
Yep.
I appreciate your time, and if you kind of check on the legality, and I left my phone number here, if you just want to call me, if it's not legal, save me some work.
Okay,
And if it is, then I'll pursue the masonry, but
Okay.
that probably will not get done, but the electrical has to, because there is a risk there of that wall, and of course, Mark, you know, I mean, I don't know when consumers are gonna get back to us. My brother and I,
Good luck now, especially.
I know we've got everything ready for them, we're just waiting.
Then you may wait.
Hopefully they work when it's snowing. You know what I mean?
Can you just
We
tell
need
us
a
your
second.
phone number so we can just put it right in
Yeah,
our
on the
name?
application.
it's on the.
It's on the app.
Sorry.
So
Thanks.
we'll revisit.
All right, thanks for your time.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
look nice.
Okay.
We need a second.
It's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah.
You could just get the doors open.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a good night.
So. You want to somewhat read that?
I'm
out?
trying.
Okay, let's get a second out first, and then we can discuss all this.
I'll second the
Okay, so
motion.
Greg's gonna second.
Okay, so, we request the applicant bring in, 2 bids for electrical and brick. Or however you wanna say that, 2 bids for anything he's asking
Right.
for.
Yeah.
And turn in before the face forward deadline, and we'll waive the requirement regarding.
Work commencement, I would say work commencement, like you're
Yeah.
waiving the requirement of when work can begin.
Right.
So.
Yep.
that commence.
So he can go ahead and get it done,
He can do it.
which he can get it done anyway.
Is there anything that's keeping him from doing 2 different?
No.
Do we don't have anything
Well,
like
first of
that, right?
all, he did get 2 other face forwards.
Okay.
Oh, he did?
And,
I just had them check, one
Yeah,
for
that's-
5,000 and one for 1,500.
that's 65 more hundred.
Oh, I also thought it was interesting that this makes it sound like you're fixing the back of Twilligers too.
Yeah.
That was-
Well, the reason why,
No, I think you were saying that. I was
But I
just
was
like.
like.
the reason why is because
Shared
basically
electrical.
that electrical is shared. One of those panels has to go on and it has to be moved, and it's gonna cost Mike some
But it
money.
does feel like they were trying to say that. they're
Says we
fixing
are
up.
working in construction with builders to improve
Right.
facades.
All right, we got a lot of other stuff to do, so
Yeah.
what do you guys want to do with this one?
That was misleading.
Yeah, let's just, and it can die. It's totally up to you guys. It can die right here and now by not voting to move forward.
Well, I don't think we're not voting to approve. I think we're just
But
voting.
you have a motion and then
Why do
it can
you-
absolutely die.
Why do you have to vote to ask him to follow the rules?
Do we have to vote?
We have to vote on it.
We put it in a motion,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
and we have a second, so we're gonna vote on it, but what I'm saying is if you deny this motion, then it's dying, okay? Then he can, just gonna go do and reapply completely anyway. Okay, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So one question I have is on these, the cities received 2 other phase forwards. Do you know the years and the amounts?
Yeah, we have
what they
all
were
that
for?
information. But when people
Just
walk
ask-
in here, I know, but I'm
Just asking like.
well, somebody should
you know,
kind of give me really quick. In 2016, 2009, I
I-
mean, I don't know why it matters, but I'm just saying that the reason I'm saying that is
Doesn't
because,
matter.
but I don't carry that list around, so when you guys ask me that off the cuff.
I'm not-
12 and
I'm
11.
sorry, I didn't mean to ask you something that you didn't know.
No, I'm just saying, I'm just trying to
Positive he
explain
had
that
gotten one, that's why I brought it up.
he sat here and said he didn't have one, and so my
Exactly.
staff texted me really quick, but.
He was on the
we
board
have
at
to
the
live
time.
with everything.
This is my point.
Was that when it was a nonprofit, or was that when it was a profit?
It was a profit, because he, 2 years ago, he made it a nonprofit according to him.
He started it. He didn't make it.
Correct. We have a motion, let's just roll with this and see where it goes. She has this motion that Paul has read. We'll just vote, all in favor of the motion. By aye,
I,
all right, so the motion is carried.
Okay.
which is pretty much come back with your application.
Correct.
Back with a full application,
But I
and
guess-
we'll allow.
We did the right thing. If someone gives us an app, we should act on it. We should do something, right? Tell them something. And so at this point, he's
Right.
presented an app and we've said, no,
No.
you need to come back.
Correct.
But
The other thing is, just
The work
If
can be
he
started
did.
if he did it, yeah.
my suggestion also is to do this much homework yourselves now to put a background in your head of the building.
Can I also ask, like, have we ever attached any opening requirements to this? Because that building,
10 years, more
It's-
than 10 years.
well, what did they do in 11 and 12?
Oh, I see,
Well,
I
fine.
see what you're asking.
But like, that connections is
Supposed to
been a money. There've been a,
Well, it's not only that, the damn chunk of sidewalk that was forced the issue, just do your homework.
yeah, it
Let's
was
leave it at
not.
that.
Where we do that? Where we go?
You can
After
go
the
through the
meeting.
city to find out what happened,
After the meeting.
but you're not gonna find it out here because
Okay, so I do have something that's pertinent that you did bring up, and it doesn't have, the building doesn't have a final inspection.
do your homework and you make your decisions. But I'm not gonna put something out that is not positive, just like I was sure that he had gotten one, but wasn't positive.
Right,
Well,
which is, look, my point is, there's no bearing. We don't have anything that says if you got one, you can't get
Can't get
another.
another one.
But we
Absolutely.
do, what I'm trying to tell you guys is we do keep a list of everyone who has gotten one
Yeah.
in our office. And sometimes I don't have that with me because I don't know that that's.
Yeah,
the question.
Who got what?
I was-
But she has given that to us
actually,
also.
begin with, I didn't even know what building we were talking about for a part of that conversation.
Which I think, in my opinion, also again, is that you need to keep track of that, and this is just my opinion. Is that you need to keep track of who's getting the money, how much money they're getting, and then when they got it.
But I would
Because-
expect somebody to be forthcoming with that information when they're specifically.
They
asked,
can
"Have you
apply,
ever
they can
gotten-"
apply every single year,
The question was, have you ever gotten one?
correct, and he said no,
Correct.
but he can apply
I
every
remember
every single year, it's not illegal or not against our rules to apply.
I know.
Happy, but
It's
So
true.
I agree. That's what I was looking for. Is
It
like,
was
if
a
it had been a
very
long
firm
time ago,
question.
it might be defensible to say he just forgot.
Sure.
you know?
Yeah.
But if it was 2
Two-
years ago, I
2
would say,
in 10 years,
how did you forget?
let's be realistic. And also the question about the wall was not addressed at all. You brought the wall anyway.
We'll move on. Okay, minutes, let's approve the minutes real quick.
Make a motion.
Oh,
Go
support.
ahead.
She's made a motion, he seconded.
I wrote it the other way.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Treasurer's report.
Okay, so with the treasurer report, what we have is the one from the last meeting, that wasn't correct. I corrected it. I brought it to this meeting. And, I felt it was important to bring it because it's our final report of that fiscal year. And so, I don't know that we have to actually go through it. I just want to make sure that we have it, on record, what we finished with at the end of the fiscal year. And then I have July's in here as well. And essentially, I just have two checks that I wrote in July that are noted in the running balance. They also are shown in the budget versus spend. And I added a section at the bottom, you'll see on the second page of the budget versus spend, because I think that, you know, we ran into some things last fiscal year where, especially like with the face forward, because that comes in later. So I divided that up. And so the things that were really encumbered in the last fiscal year, but we're still paying out, I put them down lower on the page to maybe help separate that out. Is there any question about that? Then of course I have the 5 months, but you know, there's only one month there. There's two. And I also included a copy of our budget for this fiscal year that we just started in July.
Anybody got any questions?
We need a motion.
Mhm.
To accept.
We do.
Motion to accept the treasurer's report as printed.
I'll second.
Sorry.
We didn't do last month.
It would be for both
With the correction.
with the correction presented from last month.
Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? All right,
So I would like to cover one question that I have for the group, is that, you know, for instance, sidewalk maintenance, we've had that as like a standing budget item, but we haven't used it really. And so what I'm wondering is do we want, I didn't put it down in this encumbered area for the extra $3,000 from last year. Do we want to keep track of that we've approved a budget for that we did not spend? And keep it as a bucket of money?
no,
Okay,
no, just for the reason of it's there to spend, but
But if we didn't
we do
spend it-
not have to spend it. It's not
Carry
maintained
it
that
over.
way.
Okay.
It just carries over.
And we're
And it-
planning on seeing
And I was just gonna say, he's gonna be using some,
okay,
if he doesn't seal one year, he's gonna seal the following, and also that we can use that sidewalk maintenance for literally sidewalk.
okay,
So it doesn't have to be just for the ceiling.
okay,
So there's, I would say we keep it in there because our sidewalk maintenance is gonna be ongoing forever.
But what she.
Yeah, I'm not saying-
You can accumulate what you.
yeah,
spend.
I wasn't
Just
arguing that we keep it in
as what
there.
it is
What it is, okay, got it.
for now.
Yep.
We wanna do the same thing, we'll get into that now. Real quick. I was in,
It's just bouncing.
is that not in order?
I don't know, 111 was on there.
Page 36, he's
Oh.
on.
Which is ours.
Okay, darns, which
Oh, wait,
we've
no,
already approved
22
it.
is ours.
All we gotta do is,
He just, he sketched back
36.
from signs to
I bet
DAR.
37,
DAR's,
37.
DAR's 22.
okay,
Are we on DAR?
let's take care of
What is
DAR,
that?
and there's nothing really to take care of because it's already
Only
been
just to
approved.
allow to write the check.
Correct.
What you guys have been
And that we
doing
have to
is
approve
making
that
sure
it's-
that the work is
It's done.
approved and you're making a motion so we know she can write the check.
And his receipts are here.
Making a motion, I make a motion to disperse this
There
fee
you go.
forward after Mark Brink looks at it.
There you go.
Getting it done today,
We're just trying to be consistent with that, because.
or after it's inspected, whatever word you wanna use.
Yeah,
Just for the record, though, we didn't do it on class.
I know, but you're supposed to. We've been doing
Yeah,
it
that's a good idea.
for the we've been doing it for the last year because it like gives us.
Well, as soon as
Yeah.
you don't do it, then maybe it seems like we're picking and choosing what we are doing. We
Right.
should just.
That's what I'm saying. We did it before, and then we didn't do the last one. Yeah, I'm just saying, we should be.
Mistaken.
That's because you guys keep arguing with me on whether you should do it or not, and I keep telling you.
Dar gets to do the next one.
I like it done, so I can write the check.
Sharon, do you want to
I
second it?
want it on
Well, I'm
record.
just saying Rosemary
Like
likes
to
it,
second it?
and I appreciate
I
that.
second that.
Okay,
Holy moly.
all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, now page 37, the signs,
36.
36.
36
No, the
and
sign.
37. I just put this in the girls' brain last month. I couldn't be here. I had driven through and had thought about a sign for the city. We have one outside town, we have one outside town. With all of our stuff that we do, I know it's on Facebook and like whatever. But for a lot of people in this community, there are older people, they may not get the information that way, and the paper is almost extinct or very close. So a sign on this corner of the new parking lot that the school and the city has gone together with, right here on the 4-way, I thought would be a good idea, would be to put a small, doesn't need to be huge, doesn't need to be elaborate, but I think it should look good. It would be a, what do you call them, a ticker tape
Marquee.
marquee, thank you. So that the city could put out what is going on when it's going on.
Just the city? The city will own it, like a city, you'll be in charge of it? I mean, the city,
Well, I would be glad to let the PDA be in charge.
or whatever.
What I mean is,
I didn't, what we're saying
The
is,
joint,
yeah, I feel like what Marcus said,
I know that.
we would put out a bet, like, you know, it wouldn't be something that like a business could use.
no, you
or
put like meeting tonight,
Yep.
6 a.m. or 6 p.m.
Amphitheater, you know.
I get it, I get the point, but that parking lot is a
Joint.
joint
Okay, so you
venture.
mean
Right.
not with the school? Yeah, right. so
School
the
has their
theirs
own,
at the other
right at the end
Sure,
of the other end.
And
sure,
so,
agreed.
yeah,
That's
I
why I was
They put their own
curious. Yep.
stuff up.
So
So this
we're-
would just be
we
the
would-
cities.
Yep,
And it would be a marquee that they could put their information out. And that as you pull up to the stop, you'd be able to see it. We'd have to worry about, impeding the site and all that stuff, but that's just part of the logistics of getting it in there. And these were pictures that Cassie pulled up from other communities. The one, the biggest one here, Current Park, is over in Williamston, and I took a picture of it so that she had an idea. It doesn't need to be that big, it doesn't need to be anything like that. The other ones were just other ones that she pulled off the internet. That one was very expensive, with 30 grand or whatever is what it came back as.
Do we have pricing tonight?
She did put a call into,
Edwards.
Edwards, but they had a little power issue with all the storms and stuff, but, they said probably around 25. That was a ballpark figure, 25,000.
And then, and
For
all might
just
participate in.
the monitor. Because they're obviously not gonna provide the masonry.
No, they were talking about the whole sign,
The whole
the
shebang.
whole shebang.
So if you want your name on this, the backside of this. you
So,
might
no, we
provide-
don't have 100% accurate price, but
Cause this says
Yeah.
30,000, probably a couple years ago, it has-
Right.
it's not been there that long, in Williamston. Donated by the sponsors in the back of the side.
My opinion, I thought it would be better if the sign was both sided. Because if it's sitting there on that angle and everybody
Exactly
comes
my
through
question.
the parking lot or through to pick up kids or whatever. They're also sitting there, they can read it or see it,
I could totally
because it's not
agree.
gonna be like this, it would be on an angle so that it.
And like what traffic is gonna, be in the viewpoint, the parking lot, anyone coming from Langsford Road,
everybody would
Like,
see that.
yeah.
I think you keep
Absolutely double
everybody from arguing over who's gonna be on there by they're out there They're out there when you come into town. We don't need to get into that ordeal. It's for the city to just say what's going on. And that was it. Put it in your thought. Rattle around, see if you see one, take a picture of it. And we'll start working towards maybe we can get something together quickly, like next month. In a scratch out and then get it to them so that they can get something laid out of if it would fit and work.
So do
Are there
you
any
have a shape of sign
grants or-
that want to be like that?
That was one of the theories, is to make our logo on there somehow as part of it, or make it even be the logo. And then the insert is where the verbiage is.
I would think it would need to be stretched and lowered, right?
I have no idea. Again, put it in your brain, rattle it around.
I love it. I love
And,
it.
and then think about it, but I thought it would be kind of cool if it was right there where everyone could read it. Because you can put something down here again, but you're not gonna, it's not the four
No,
corners.
I think it's, yeah.
Are
No,
there any
that's-
grants available to help cover costs of it?
There might be, we could look.
And are we thinking just DDA or are we thinking a joint effort with?
Not thinking of anything, just putting it in your brain.
Yeah, I
So
kinda like
all
the
of
idea.
those ideas that you've got right now are questions.
Yeah.
Let's
Oh,
tackle it
quick question about the parking lot, on that, how far is that parking lot come out? to that corner?
all the way to the corner.
So it would be.
There's a
better-
walkway that goes through
It
there.
would be better when something's on a pole.
I don't know. That would
Well,
be
the
up to the
engineers will be able
engineer.
to tell us all of that, where we can put it and all
Cause that
that.
was one of the questions I had
I mean, if
asked
it's something you
Dan.
guys are interested in, I could have our engineers start looking at it.
Right, and he could give us, okay, this is about how big it could
To
be.
tell us, to tell us how big and all that stuff and, you know, how far back from the corner, whatnot. I mean, we could say.
Yeah, we don't want to take up 6
Yeah.
parking spots or something, because that's the whole reason. So
That's what I'm saying, but on a pole or something higher.
maybe,
Get the vision.
just depends
On-
on what they were thinking, what they say. But at least put it in your head and rattle around by next month, come up with those questions and those ideas. And she can do a little bit of legwork by telling the architect, okay, they want a sign on this corner.
Yeah.
What will fit, what will work, and what, give us a couple quick drawings or something to tell us what we can put there.
Yeah, often I see the banks in other communities where the banks are the ones who are scrolling this banner of what's going on in the community, and I'm wondering, we don't really have a corner bank that could.
Not-
We don't even have a bank.
Other businesses.
We don't have a corner bank, we don't have a
And again, I don't
or
think I,
grocery store.
right,
Or
Let's put a giant LCD screen on the mayor's
you
building.
could see what's coming up as churches, so we wouldn't.
just like driving by the high school out there, they have their marquee out there and you drive by, it's not huge, but it's always ticker-tating what time, what.
It is handy. I mean,
Events.
yeah, it is
You just
a
drive by,
bunch
but you're gonna look at it. Well,
Yeah.
here it's at least at a stop. And it's visually just for the city to advertise whatever's going on. Just an idea.
I just wish we had a corner bank that we could just give them a little bit of like. I don't know, that we could,
I do
that
too.
would do it voluntarily.
That would be nice.
So I'm still, the reason why I'm bringing that up, I'm letting it rattle around. I'm looking for a volunteer to do this for us. To pay for it.
Oh.
Like a bank or a grocery store.
Maybe Huntington would do it since he used to be here.
They
still want everybody-
Maybe, yeah, maybe we can get last year to put one up and they can put that ATM in the bottom of the sign.
There you go.
Okay. you're-
That's not a bad
Number
idea.
6,
Have 'em come-
you're gonna be up?
Olivia, your turn finally.
Let's get at you.
Community Center grant.
Just briefly, Paula and I are applying to the community center grant. If you remember, the city applied to the Spark grant a few months ago for renovations and improvements to McClintock Park. This grant is pretty much covering and asking for the same thing, so. Replacing and the walking path surface, the tennis court surface, and the skate park surface, adding pickleball courts, adding a seasonal ice rink, and then we additionally added to, this grant, public Wi-Fi at the pavilion in hopes of also using it for the movie at the park, so the city doesn't have to continue to rent like a physical DVD. A water fountain back at the pavilion and the addition of a warming shelter to go by the ice rink when it's up.
And the water fountain would actually be a water refill
Yeah, like
station
a water bottle.
instead of a fountain, like a refill station.
And that's due, the deadline just got pushed back to September 7th, but I think our goal is still to finish it this week.
So what we're looking for is a letter of support from the DDA. Which it's the same letter you wrote for the Spark grant, we just changed it to this grant.
Or,
Support.
Second.
thank you. Motion and second, all in favor, anyone opposed?
Nope.
You got some support from us,
You just need to sign it. That's
rah, rah.
Mhm.
Now we gotta do some quick training, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, an easy one.
Wait, what's the Main Street discussion?
I also included a packet that we talked about last week that you all wanted more information just about the program in general. So that's the packet about Main Street, just briefly. The first page goes over the Main Street 4 points, which has been what the training series is on, and connecting it to the DDA's goals and objectives, just so it's more easy to visualize how the DDA and their efforts fit into the Main Street approach. The second page is a breakdown of the different levels and what is expected of the Main Street organization in each level. So at the top, it says we are here, so we're still completing that initial training, developing the communication and budget plan. And then the next level is the engage level, which typically communities are in for 1 to 3 years. And that would be the next step if the DDA continues to be involved in the Main Street. And then the select level, it identifies the tasks, and then the master level, it identifies the tasks. The next 2 pages are a comparison to a different community that's also a Main Street that is similar to Langsford. Again, just to more easily visualize and see that it's attainable with the size of the community that Langsford is. So things to point out, like for income, we're almost equivalent, and we just have TIF, and Ever doesn't have that, so they're just doing it solely based on donations and fundraising and membership dues. Expenses are also very similar, and then a comparison of events and volunteers. The page after that is also a comparison of the city of Everett and specifically the downtown. So it's looking at the number of parcels, parking spaces, storefronts, upper floor housing units, restaurants, retail stores, and then storefront vacancies. I also included other Langsford businesses because Ever only did the retail store, and no other businesses, so I just included Langsford's, and then where we have the vacant storefronts, 2 which are under renovation right now, so the old Cinders building and then the connection. And then the last page is all of the services that we would get once we are at select level, so that's when Michigan Main Street and MEBC start giving the communities technical support and assistance. These are lined out by year, but it says these services can be customized and tailored to meet the individual community needs. So there is some flexibility, but just generally, those are the services you can assume that they will provide if we were a select community. And hopefully it just gives a little bit of clarification about the points that were confusing or unclear last week. I'd be happy to answer any questions and also start the trainings. The last one, after this meeting, you will be done with the trainings.
You said that last time, I thought.
I don't think so, August 3rd.
You just turned it, come back.
couldn't get it to take.
So, Olivia, it still stands the same though, because I think our questions last time were like, we're at the first level.
Yes.
We're gonna complete tonight, right? But if we engage in the next level, that's when the MEBC takes over pretty much and the projects and stuff are decided by them. Is that how that works?
No, nothing's decided by them. What do you think?
So that's, yeah, so it sounded like there would be a secondary board or another group
Right.
within the board. This is.
So
this
let me
was
try
where-
to, let me
this
just
is
try
where
to
our
clear that up.
questions were.
So the way I understand it is, like, there probably are other communities where the DDA is not the Main Street Board. But it doesn't make sense not to have the DDA be the Main Street Board. Some communities don't have a DDA. So the communities.
Like that, like you're saying.
Right. So the DDA would just become a more of a working board and try to get like, you know how the LBCA gets volunteers to do the pancake breakfast?
Mhm.
Well, the DDA already gets volunteers to do the movies that you guys pay for, right? We used to get money from people to put on the movies. Right now we have volunteers doing the movies. So we would start like maybe split ourselves up into like groups of people who work on certain projects. Like, you know, you two would take on, you know, volunteers, like we go to the high school and get some kids to volunteer, you know, planting the flower. We already have the Girl Scouts volunteering to plant the flowers. So we're doing a lot of these things. And the city staff is already doing a lot of those things. So all this program does is provide you tools and money.
Well,
I mean-
I think the other thing, so that clarifies that because
Okay.
we were not
Yeah,
able to
that's
get
fine.
that clarity last time
Okay.
about whether it was another portion of the board, another board, if this board would be
This
replaced
board
with
would
a
be in
different
charge
board.
of everything.
Well, I mean, this says, you know, if we went to the next level, if we committed to that next level, it's a select level, right? MEBC helps MMS board hire a full-time director and then, you know, we would have recruit volunteers. Program up and running, and then MDC provides theater conservation for enrichment development, downtown development.
Only the support we want, like, say we.
There's something on the fall from the last time which brought that up, because that's all
Yeah.
we're saying. 'Cause I don't think
I'm just trying to clarify, because Olivia and I talked about it, we read through a lot of these things, we read through your plan.
Mhm.
And, you know, everything you guys want to do,
All right,
this program supports it.
Yeah, I
So-
think the question for us was a couple of things. One was, what does the makeup of the board look like then? You know,
Same.
is it
Yep.
another set of
No,
board members? And then it was the director position. We had some questions about that. And then
so the director position, I agree that, you know, I mean, that's the reason we really never work hard at this, is because they require you to hire someone. But as we talked to Coldwater and some other people at the Main Street program, what we found out was that a lot of times the city pays for that position and the DDA say gives the city $12,000 or whatever. And it was in your guys' plan to always have somebody who did that.
Mhm.
The thing is we've never had the money to be able to do it.
Mhm.
But I mean, if we look at it honestly, the city is already playing the role of this director.
Okay.
This would just help us, like, maybe the LBCA, the city, the DDA could all come together and figure out how to help fund that position. And I mean, we were also under the understanding that that person would only be able to do, you know, downtown stuff. But if they run out of things to do, which we all think that's not gonna happen. I mean, if we wanna grow downtown, if we wanna make things better and bigger and stronger and do all the things in our plan, we gotta have somebody that's focused at looking at that, right? So I'll be looking at it, working on it, and somebody comes in and wants to pay their taxes, so, you know, then somebody needs something at the cemetery, and then. But if we have somebody like Olivia's been, since she got here, working on all of these great things, and if you have somebody who can just focus on those things. It's gonna be instrumental to making changes around here. And so what we have to do is figure out. How we would afford that position, not that we don't already have it, like, maybe Cassie could be the downtown director. And, you know, still have time to collect the taxes, I don't know. But we would just have to figure out how we get there. And I think that that shouldn't be what stops us from becoming Main Street, because they'll help us figure out how we're gonna be able to do that.
But just,
So then we had a,
Yeah.
They would work for the DDA technically, but the way like Coldwater's person is like under city manager. Like, so they work in the city hall, in the offices, under the city manager. And that's just the way that, you know.
So
I don't
then
know how
our
to clear
third,
that
our
up.
third question was around, that it sounds like we need to be revenue producing as well, aside from the tips. So like in some of the suggestions were like the movies in the park or the music in the park. Well, I don't know that that's in our thought that we
So-
would start charging for
No.
music in the park or movies in the park or any of that.
No,
form
what
of
we would do-
revenue.
No, what we would do is seek donations like we are already doing.
Okay.
So the LB,
So that,
those movies and those the bands aren't free, right?
oh, no, I know,
Right.
I
So
know.
the
but
only
I-
way to pay for those is right now, we're raising money, and what the city's doing or the DDA is doing is. We're funding it ourselves,
Right.
right? You guys are paying for it.
Yeah.
We're not asking anybody for any money, we're just putting them out there. So that is the fundraising approach, is to get other people
To
to.
donate, okay.
Yes,
I thought, I interpreted that to be that we would start charging for these things, and I'm like,
That
why
was
would
the
we,
example.
why would we go bad for it?
Yes.
That was the example.
so does that make more sense?
Yes, it
So what
does.
we do is like try to get.
Go back to
people
what it used to be, like, we used to give
Well,
money
before
for those,
COVID,
right?
before COVID, we used to seek volunteers to, give us money to help to
Movies.
sponsor the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but we didn't do them all. We didn't do all.
But
no,
now they just started paying for it, which is fine, but we could ask
Use
for
the
that and then
opportunity.
free up your money.
Correct.
Do you see what we're saying?
Yeah.
It's not like necessarily like, we have no intention of charging for things.
Okay,
Because-
that was one
And
of
let's
my
say we
concerns.
do like a giant event and we have vendors down there, and we want to charge the vendors
Yeah,
to
yeah.
set up, or food trucks, those kinds of things, but not the patrons.
But the DDA can also make money. Meaning, we can purchase a piece of property, we can own buildings. We can do that and make money with that. That's part of our scheme, whatever, is that we don't just collect and take the money and then disperse it. You can literally own the building or own the property and then sell it and turn a profit. It's not against the rules.
And
It's
so-
part of our.
So when Olivia came on, one of our objectives was, and correct me if I'm wrong, you all agreed to that when we wanted to get a fellow that we would work on becoming a Main Street community. And so that's what she's been working on, but I mean, she's only here for another year. So we're kind of hoping that we can get through, all the hard stuff. We wanted to apply in February. We don't know if that, and I don't know when you would get approved if you apply in February, but apparently you have 6 months after that to hire someone. But they're gonna work with us. They're gonna help us figure that out. And then if we don't, then we don't get to move on to the next level. I mean, that's the worst thing that could happen,
I
right?
think that was my biggest reservation, was figuring out how to pay for a salary director. So what you're saying puts my mind at ease a lot, that if they can help us figure this out, and if we have the city's support in this endeavor, I think maybe that would help us. Do we have the city's support to do this? And are they
Yes.
willing to,
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
are they willing to consider that the city might actually end up paying for the person's salary?
But the benefit is to them also.
Right, and the funny
Times
thing is,
10.
the city's already paying for those things.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing them,
You're-
Olivia's doing them, Kim and Cassie are doing them. We're all
But
doing,
isn't it- Yeah,
Dave's
well,
doing
you're
it.
doing 3 jobs under one.
Right, so Dave
under
does,
one
I mean, we're
hat,
all
but-
doing those things right now, so if we were able to quantify that and put a price on it, we're already doing a lot of those things.
Right, I'm just saying, but we're adding another person to the payroll.
Yes, no.
Just
I
wanted
mean,
to make sure that we knew how we were gonna pay for that.
Right, and I don't think we do yet, right? We have to get there.
Okay,
And so I feel like that has been our reservation, and I understand that 100%, but I feel
my
like,
question for Olivia would be like, can you give us a little I mean, I think you said it already that they would help us figure this out. What would that look like? Would someone from the Main Street program actually come in and sit down with us and work through that with us?
Yeah, so the first step would be, we need to still submit the communication and budget plan to them. So they know that we're engaged with the program. They know that you guys are doing the training right now. Laura, who is one of the head directors, I don't know her specific role.
She is the head, Laura Krizov.
Yeah,
She's the
so
head of-
she,
she's the director.
She would come to our meeting.
yeah,
She said
she,
she'd come right out here and talk to us.
yeah, so she would come out and probably better explain it than Paula and I could, just because she's working in it every day. But then, yeah, the next step would be to implement our communication and budget plan that we compiled ourselves. And once we get that in motion a little bit, we would fill out the application, and that's when they would, I think, more directly help with the process.
So one of the things Olivia and I have been kicking around is like a big kickoff for the Main Street program to get like all of our boards on board, the, residents, businesses or whatever, like maybe a big event at the park where, we could have bands like all day. We could do bands on every corner and then a big band at the night, like just small players on the corners and then a big band at night over here. Kickoff, trying to get volunteers, trying to get people excited about the program. Because it can't just be us, but you guys are gonna have to become way more involved in not trying to help make these events happen and improve downtown to what we all want it to be.
Does this Main Street, so once we keep on the level, that just encompass just the Main Street or does it
Yeah,
encompass
so
our entire DD?
Right, so when we get through the training and Olivia's been working on like an inventory of the businesses, what we have, we have the DDA district, right? Well, the Main Street district would be redrawn. It wouldn't change your district. It's just that the Main Street district would be where the funds that they give us are sent to. That's where.
Have to be used.
Yeah, like the technical support would be
Right,
for
like,
the
so-
businesses encompassed by the.
So if they gave us money to put on movies and we put them on at McClintock Park and it wasn't in the district, which we would make sure it was, right? So we're just gonna, it looks to me like it would probably be like our C1 zoning district. And it would just encompass, like the business area downtown and maybe go around that block or whatever. So it just wouldn't go out as far as your district does. It wouldn't include most of the residences because this is,
But that doesn't change our DDA district.
no, not at
They
all.
do within that district.
This is.
They just for the grant.
The commercial corridor.
Right, so you're,
we would just like define a smaller.
right, but your
downtown.
PDA district will stay exactly the same. You'll just have another district within your district that will have targeted funding from the MEDC.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it sounded, so one of the things that came up was what, then the UT was gonna take over what they thought needed to be done, and that's the protocol we would follow once we get to a certain level.
No, but, and really, so like, if you look at this sheet that Olivia made, we took the things the Main Street has, and we took these things right out of your plan. So these are things you guys want to do that are 110% in line with the Main Street program. So the Main Street program doesn't really want to do anything that you guys don't want to do. So I think they just have tried and true ways of getting some things taken care of. And it puts us in with a group of people that are doing this. They can say, hey, this event really worked for us, or this doesn't work, or how do you get volunteers? And they actually have sample documents and they have all kinds of things to help you. And it's to engage those businesses downtown to get them, let's all decorate our window for Halloween. Let's make that part of the Main Street program. Let's just whatever things we want to do. I mean, but these things are gonna have to come from the downtown businesses, you guys, and then we're gonna find out the success by whether people show up or don't, or if we see.
How does all that like incorporate with the downtown business?
The LBCA?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Does it or doesn't it, or just?
it really, I mean, the LBCA, I would consider as one of our support systems for what things that do happen in downtown. I mean, they do the pancake breakfast.
So they do and donate. And
They do the Winter Fest, all of those are in our downtown, right? So anything that LBCA does could be counted as volunteer hours for us, right? They are already volunteering in our downtown. And I think we would just involve them on our committees, like if we created a committee, to do something, we would get on board with them and they would be the volunteer organization that still manned their event. But we can count the volunteer hours, we can count the donations towards our Main Street success and maybe get some dollars to help them put on
I was
events.
gonna say, we'll still help them again.
Right.
It'll Still come back full circle.
I think it's back and forth, like it's a partnership. Like I feel like we could better serve the people who are helping us right now.
I think, one other thing that we didn't really have clarity on was, or maybe we did, and I just don't remember that it was answered. Was that we were unclear if, like, our TIF money was gonna get divided then between what's in and out of that.
DDA
Okay.
district is set,
Okay.
and that doesn't get, it's never gonna get, I mean,
Okay.
never say never, because it could get evaporated.
Yep.
If they want to, but yeah,
You
that's
guys,
set up and
okay.
it's there.
you still get your 100% control on your TIF.
Yeah, that's what we were, that's what
No, I
one of the
think
things
that-
kind of came up with, would we,
No.
No,
Okay,
you
we
would
divided
be
between
restricted in the projects we do, or things we don't.
hopefully get more
More
money.
money.
I mean, hopefully, the only thing that's gonna happen out of this is you're gonna have to work a little harder and get some more money. I mean, I just feel like we're gonna have to put in some effort, at least to get the volunteer programs built up. We can use the schools, they have like a junior, Main Street group or whatever, so we could try to like get to the schools and work with those kids to help with the downtown. I mean, how great would that be? So I think that it's just like the RRC program, if you ask me. We worked through that whole RRC thing and we've gotten a lot of dollars from doing that. And I mean, this, not only dollars, but you have resources, you have more people. I mean, 2 weeks ago, the MEDC team was here. This table was filled with people from the entire MEDC, including the Main Street lady. And, we walked around downtown, we went and visited Extreme and, we got them excited about Langsburg. And they left here extremely excited and we haven't really seen a whole lot of action yet, but we're gonna get there. So,
Source the money, right?
yeah, so I mean, I really
Yeah,
do feel
limbo.
like, we get a lot of that good stuff. So, and I think that the hiccup is hiring somebody, but doesn't mean we have to hire a brand new person. Doesn't mean we can't like take some of what we're doing at City Hall and add to it. Yeah, I mean,
I
so
know
I
some
feel like there's some way
TDAs
to do that.
Some TDAs actually hire executive directors who are consultants who work like part-time, like, 20 hours a week, although honestly, I don't think that's a reality. They probably get paid for 20, but work 30, but I myself have worked with DDAs where they actually contract with a consultant to fill that purpose and they work part-time. And that consultant might actually have 2 communities that are DDA director for.
And we
But
could talk
still-
about whether that's an option with with Laura from Main
If you
Street.
have someone working on it,
The idea is you have someone working on it.
even if it's 20 hours a week, it's more than we're working on it. So you're gaining ground.
And
And most likely you'd be gaining money. And
I
that
mean-
makes things happen.
I mean, this is why, in all reality, if we keep leaving our fate in the hands of, well, let's hope somebody,
Good
plans
person.
some music over there, right? Let's hope somebody, then what happens is we're leaving our fate to that. Like, if they quit doing it, where are we? I mean, when Jody Frank stopped doing the movies, that's part of the reason we're paying for the movies, because we don't have anybody who wants to go out,
Volunteer to go.
knock
Yes,
on
yep,
doors and get some
absolutely,
money.
Yep.
But we're willing to work with people to get us a group of volunteers. And we can create like a hierarchy or, like a refilling basket, right, of volunteers, so that we don't just have one person. I mean, and Gail does a great job with the amphitheater, but what happens if she
It's not
can't?
fair to
But
one
what happens if
person,
she
but you're
can't
totally
anymore,
right. It
or-
isn't fair.
and
This is
all
a
of
great
them
idea for
should-
that purpose alone.
Should one
That's all you
person,
get
should
out of
one person have to do those musics every
No.
Thursday, So I
Mhm.
feel like you really wanna Yeah, I just think that we need to create that atmosphere. You might as well bring them in, Rich, share the wealth. Yeah. So, I mean, I hope that answered your questions. We have worked hard
There's a
this
lot more
week to
clarity.
try and, talk about what people are doing and.
So you said that a couple weeks ago or last week, the whole crew from MEDC came in
Mhm.
and met with you and.
It was about 2 weeks ago, I think.
Wow.
We had,
No,
Do you want to scooch a little bit so you don't?
no, I want it right in my eyes,
right
Olivia.
in your forehead.
Thank you.
Your hair